Welcome, and thank you for joining me. Tonight, we journey back through time into the life of a medieval knight, not in battle, but in the quiet everyday moments that defined their honour, discipline, and duty. Let this peaceful, hour-by-hour reflection ease your thoughts and settle your breath. If you enjoy these stories, please leave a like and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Now, close your eyes and let the rhythm of the past guide you gently towards sleep. The air is cold and the light is dim when your eyes open. Morning comes early in the manor, long before the rooster crows. There is no glass in your windows, only shutters, and a thin shaft of light slips through the wooden slats. You're wrapped in wool blankets, atop a straw mattress layered with furs, and your war hand lies curled beside the bed, rising when you do. You are a knight, not a mythical hero, but a man of land, duty, and reputation. In the world outside, your name means strength, protection, and justice. Inside your chamber, it means the day begins now. You wash your face in a cold basin of water brought by a servant. There is no luxury in the morning routine. You dry your face with rough cloth, then pull on a tunic, hose, and a thick woolen cloak. Your boots are worn but well kept. You dress without assistance. Armour comes later. Outside your chamber, the stone halls are quiet except for the distant shuffle of kitchen staff preparing the day's first meal. You walk through the manor to the small chapel. There, in the glow of beeswax candles, you kneel beside your steward, your priest, and your eldest son, if you have one old enough to follow. Morning prayer is short and silent. Your faith is part of your discipline. Before sword or horse or court, there is devotion. Once prayers are said, your steward meets you at the base of the hall. He begins his report while walking. Grain stores are holding. 3 oxen need shoeing. The cooper has finished the new barrels. There's also word from the reeve that a boundary dispute has arisen between 2 tenant families. It is your job to hear both sides, not just as landholder, but as lord and law within your domain. Before sunrise is complete, you're outside in the brisk morning air. You inspect the stables, exchanging brief greetings with the stablemaster. You run a gloved hand down the neck of your destrier, the strong warhorse that has carried you through more than one melee. You look over the hay stores, the tools, the fences. You nod with approval or offer quiet correction. Presence matters. Your people need to see you, not distant, not indulgent, but involved. Breakfast is taken standing or sitting on a low bench. Bread, cheese, a boiled egg, and warm ale or watered wine. You eat with your squires and household men-at-arms. Conversation is plain, the day is young. By now the sun has crested the hills beyond your manor. Your sword still hangs on the rack. Your armour has not yet been strapped on, but already the duties of a knight have begun, quiet, steady, and without ceremony. Because being a knight is not just about battle, it's about order, discipline, and showing the realm what a man of steel and oath truly looks like, long before he rides into war. The clatter of wood on wood echoes across the courtyard as the sun climbs higher into the morning sky. You step out from the stone hall into crisp, open air, the smell of sweat and iron already hanging in the breeze. This is the hour of discipline, your time in the training yard. Your squire greets you with a bow, already holding your gambeson, the padded tunic worn beneath armour. He helps you slip into it without words, used to the rhythm of your movements. Over it you strap a leather belt and braces. There is no need for plate or chain today. This is practice, not war. The training yard is alive with movement. Several squires spar under the eye of the master-at-arms, their faces red with effort, their strikes still too wide, too eager. You watch for a moment, then step in, not as lord, but as example. You draw a practice sword, its edge dulled but its weight real, and signal to your squire to face you. He hesitates, knowing what's coming, but he lifts his shield, lowers his stance, and prepares. Your first strikes are measured, testing. You press him backward, forcing him to use his legs, to block, to think. When he falters, you correct him. Lead with the shoulder, not the hand. Step into the blow. He surges. He adjusts, tries again. This time you see improvement. The sparring continues. You rotate through partners, an older retainer with a bruised shin, a younger squire with a fire in his belly. They all learn from you, not just technique but control. Strength without discipline is useless on the battlefield. You teach them to strike only when they must, to hold their guard even when exhausted, to respect the blade even when it's made of wood. After sword drills come archery exercises. You inspect the targets, some peppered with arrows, others shamefully bare. Your bow is of yew, powerful and simple. You notch 3 arrows and release them in sequence. All 3 strike within inches of each other. You say nothing, but your squires nod, taking silent notes. Finally, you turn to the horses. Your destrier is saddled and waiting. You mount with practiced ease and begin passes at the quintain, a rotating dummy used to train your lance technique. Each charge is loud and fast, the lance thudding against the wooden target, the counterweight spinning behind you. You lean and dodge, controlling the horse with your knees. It's not only about power, it's about timing, rhythm, and trust between rider and mount. Your squire follows, trying to mimic your form. He misses the mark twice, then grazes it on the 3rd attempt. It's progress. By midday, your arms ache, your brow is slick with sweat, but the yard has grown quiet. Training is done, for now. You remove your gear, hand it off for cleaning, and offer a word of praise to your squire. He bows low, eyes shining with pride. You head back toward the hall, passing the smithy, where armor is repaired and blades sharpened. The smell of hot iron lingers in the air. You glance at the sky. The sun stands high. Afternoon approaches, and your duties, like your sword, are far from at rest. By the time the bell chimes midday, you've washed your hands, changed into a clean tunic, and returned to the hall, this time not for food or rest, but for justice. It is a knight's responsibility not only to fight battles, but to keep the peace. Within your manor and its surrounding lands, you are the law. The great hall is cooler now, shadows stretching long across the flagstones. Villagers wait just beyond the threshold, men and women with hats in hand, boots dusty from the road. They've come seeking judgment. Your steward reads their names aloud, one by one, and you take your seat at the high-backed chair beneath your family's crest. The first is a farmer. He accuses his neighbour of diverting a stream to flood his field. The accused denies it, says the water changed course on its own. You listen to both, keeping your expression even. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the mud. After brief questioning and the testimony of a witness, you issue a ruling. The stream must be returned to its course, and the 2 men will work together under supervision. They bow, relieved to have your word settle the matter. Next comes a miller with a broken axle. He claims a blacksmith overcharged him for the repair. The smith retorts, saying the miller brought poor quality timber and delayed payment. You sort through receipts and accounts before suggesting a fair price, less than the smith asked, more than the miller wanted. Neither is thrilled, but both accept. Compromise is often the best outcome. A third case involves a runaway piglet. Its owner claims theft. The accused says the animal wandered into his pen. It may seem minor, but livestock is livelihood. You call for a village elder to vouch for character, and after hearing the testimony, you decide the pig be returned and no fine paid. The law, after all, must not be heavier than the harm done. This is the rhythm of local life. Small disputes, real consequences. Your judgments shape the peace of your lands. Peasants work harder when they feel protected. Tradesmen thrive under fair treatment, and your authority is strengthened not by fear, but by fairness. Once the last petitioner departs, your steward brings parchment for review. Lists of supplies, reports from the reeve, a letter from a neighbouring lord asking for a meeting. The ink smells fresh. You scan the text, lips moving silently. Every word carries weight. Your priest arrives with a gentle reminder. It's the feast day of a minor saint. You nod and allow a brief reading in the chapel before the afternoon meal. The pages of the illuminated manuscript shimmer in the candlelight. Gold leaf and red ink catch your eye, even as your thoughts drift towards the next duty. You've spent the morning in the yard and the midday on the bench of justice. Both are part of your role. A knight's sword may win battles, but his word keeps peace. And now it's time to break bread. The great hall is quieter now, its benches newly set with trenchers of coarse bread and pitchers of watered ale. The hearths crackle at either end of the long room, adding warmth to the stone walls. Though there are no visiting lords or noble guests today, the meal is a ritual, no less meaningful for its simplicity. You take your place at the central table, not the highest dais, which is reserved for grand occasions, but still set apart, marked by a carved chair bearing your family crest. Your squires sit farther down, alongside the household retainers, men-at-arms, and your steward. The air smells of roasted game, leeks and barley. There is no cutlery for most. Food is eaten with hands, and a shared knife carves meat from the joint. The servants begin to move, placing dishes on the tables. A stew of root vegetables, a haunch of venison, hard cheese, boiled eggs. The bread trenchers serve as both plate and portion. Once the soft centre is eaten, the hardened shell may be given to the poor or dogs. Waste is frowned upon. Before the meal begins, a short prayer is said. You bow your head. The priest, seated nearby, offers a blessing for health and strength, and the hall settles into quiet reverence. When he finishes, conversation begins, first low, then livelier. The room fills with the sound of shared bread and shared stories. You eat with measured grace. A night is always being observed, by servants, by squires, by your own children if they're present. You tear the bread, drink from your wooden cup, and speak with those seated nearby. You ask your steward about recent accounts. You speak with the man-at-arms about rumours of bandits near the southern road. You nod to your squire who sits upright and careful, eyes bright with attention. Meals are more than sustenance, they are community. Bonds are strengthened here, between leader and follower, between teacher and student. You note who speaks too loudly, who keeps silent, who finishes quickly, and who shares. All of it speaks to character. After eating, you rise and wash your hands in a basin brought by a servant. Cleanliness is not only habit, it is expectation. The priest offers a closing prayer and the meal is done. But before dispersing, you speak briefly with a messenger who arrived just before the first course. He bears news from a neighbouring estate, an invitation to attend a tourney perhaps, or warning of conflict stirring at a border. You take the sealed letter to read later, in the quiet of your solar. For now, the day moves forward. Your body is fed, your people are at ease, and your duties soon turn outward, to the hunt, the patrol, or the diplomacy that ensures your land's safety. The sword rests on your hip once more, and the afternoon awaits. And now, it's time to break bread.
By early afternoon, the manor's settled into its slower rhythm. The kitchens are cleaned, the hearths rest, and many peasants return to their fields or workshops. For you, however, the day shifts outward. The hunt has been called, and your gear is ready. You don a thick riding cloak, leather gloves, and your hunting boots, well worn but reliable. Your squire brings your bow and a small quiver of arrows, along with a hunting spear. You won't ride in armour, but you wear a simple chain collar for status and protection. You mount your palfrey, a lighter horse than your war destrier, better suited to long hours in the woods. A small group joins you, your squire, a few retainers, 2 hounds eager to track scent, and a forester who knows the terrain well. Today's hunt is not just for sport. It sharpens your senses, builds camaraderie among your men, and provides meat for the hall. A knight must be more than a warrior. He must be a provider and leader in all things. The forest road is narrow and dappled with sunlight. You ride in silence, watching the undergrowth, the flicker of leaves, the movement of birds overhead. The forester signals, deer tracks fresh. The hounds are loosed. They bark and dart forward, vanishing into the trees. You dismount and follow on foot, bow in hand. The thrill is subtle but steady. Each broken twig, each shift of shadow draws your attention. Finally ahead, movement. A young stag, ears alert, pauses to sniff the air. You notch an arrow and draw. The string creaks, you hold your breath but release. The arrow strikes true, clean, just behind the shoulder. The deer leaps once, then falls, a quiet end. You approach slowly, murmur a word of thanks, and signal your squire to dress the kill. The meat will be used, the hide tanned, the antlers perhaps mounted in the hall. The return ride is steady. Along the way, you pass fields where serfs bend over rows of barley, and a small village where children wave as your group trots past. You slow the horse and raise your hand in return,
Let them see your face. Let them know that the knight who rides in armour also rides among them. Back at the manor gates, the guards open the doors, and your party enters with the spoils. The sun begins to dip westward, casting warm light across the courtyard. You dismount and hand the reins to your squire, who will see to the horse and gear. The hunt is done, but the day is far from over. Evening approaches, and with it comes a different kind of duty, one that requires not your bow or spear, but your words, your wisdom, and your readiness to defend more than just your land. The shadows have grown longer, stretching across the courtyard and casting golden light through the high windows of your hall. Evening draws near, but the duties of a knight do not yield to the sun's retreat. Before you can rest, there are matters to settle, letters to read, alliances to consider, and the delicate business of diplomacy to address. You return to the solar, your private upper chamber overlooking the grounds. Here the noise of the hall fades, replaced by the scratch of quill on parchment and the low voice of your steward who reads aloud the day's messages. A courier from a neighbouring baron has delivered word of an upcoming feast. Another letter speaks of border disputes in a nearby county. A third bears the seal of your liege lord, requesting a formal response to a military levy. You answer each in turn. Your responses must be measured, firm, respectful, and clear. A knight may wield a sword, but he also wields his reputation. Too soft, and your house may seem weak. Too bold, and you risk offending allies whose favour you need. Your steward prepares the final versions in elegant script, and you seal them with wax pressed by your personal sigil. Once your letters are complete, you meet briefly with your captain of arms. He brings a report from your outer watchtowers. Quiet for now, but suspicious tracks were found near the river crossing. Could be poachers, could be scouts. You nod thoughtfully. A small patrol will light out in the morning to investigate. Better to act early than too late. Afterward, you take time to walk the ramparts. The air is cooling. You look out across your lands, the forest to the north, the fields to the east, the village nestled along the road beyond the hill. It is all peaceful tonight. But you've lived long enough to know that peace is a fragile thing. It must be guarded, nourished, and, when needed, defended. You pass the chapel on your way back, and pause for a moment inside. The candles are still burning from Vespers. You kneel in silence, your hands folded. Not all prayers are spoken. Some are simply felt. A hope for good harvest, for loyal men, for strong arms and clear judgment. You rise and bow your head to the altar before stepping quietly back into the dusk. Servants are lighting torches along the walls. The manor glows amber in the growing dark. The feast is being prepared, and your evening guests will soon arrive. Diplomacy continues, not just in letters, but in shared meals, toasts and tales exchanged over wine. There is no battle tonight, but there is always a need for strength, and you, as ever, must provide it. The hall is warm now, lit by dozens of torches and the orange glow of twin hearths. Long shadows dance along the stone walls, where banners ripple gently in the firelight. The scent of roasted meat and honeyed wine fills the air. The evening feast has begun. You enter not as a warrior, but as a host. Your cloak is draped across your shoulders, embroidered with your house colours. Your boots echo against the flagstones as you walk to your seat at the high table. Guests rise briefly, nobles, merchants, and trusted retainers. You nod in greeting and take your place. A servant fills your cup, and the room settles into its familiar rhythm. This is more than a meal. It is a moment of unity. The table gathers those loyal to your household, men-at-arms, local lords, skilled craftsmen, and your inner circle of advisors. Nearby sits the priest, flanked by your steward and captain of arms. Farther down the table, your squires sit, straight-backed, eyes wide.
Every glance, every word spoken tonight teaches them something. Servants bring in dish after dish, roasted duck stuffed with herbs, trenchers of stewed vegetables, loaves of dark bread, soft cheese, and spiced apples. You eat with careful etiquette, speaking between bites, sharing light conversation with the guests nearest you. The talk flows easily. One noble speaks of a dispute resolved between rival families. Another reports on the quality of wool in the autumn trade. You listen, contribute, and laugh when laughter is needed. But always your mind observes who shows wisdom, who boasts too much, who avoids eye contact. A knight is always watching, even at his own table. Later, wine is poured and a minstrel plays softly from the corner. A familiar ballad of an ancient battle or a tale of love and loss. The music settles the room. Some lean in to listen. Others speak more quietly now, mellowed by food and flame. You take a moment to look around the hall. This is your domain, yes, but also your responsibility. The peace here is no accident. It is earned through labor, judgment, and the respect you command. You speak a short toast to the hall. Your words are simple: gratitude for loyal men, for good harvest, and for peace in your lands. Cups are raised, bread is broken. For a moment, everything feels whole. As the meal draws to a close, you excuse yourself with quiet dignity. The others continue without offense. You've shown your presence. Now the night deepens, and another rhythm calls to you, not of sword or scroll, but of stillness. You step from the hall, out into the cool air once more, and your final hours begin.
The warmth of the hall fades behind you as a great door closes. Outside, the night is calm and still, the moon climbing slowly over the tree line beyond your manor walls. A light mist curls along the ground, glowing silver in the torchlight. This is the hour of quiet. Not for sleep just yet, but for reflection. You walk slowly through the courtyard, boots crunching on gravel. A few guards nod as you pass, their spears upright, their eyes scanning the dark. They are alert, even now. You trained them well. You pause to speak with the captain of the watch, who gives a short report. Nothing unusual. A peaceful evening. You commend his vigilance and move on. The manor grounds are familiar in daylight, but under the stars they take on a gentler presence. You pass the chapel, where a single candle still flickers within. You pass the stables, where horses shift and snort softly in their sleep. The forge is quiet, the embers dark. The world exhales in these late hours. You pause at the outer wall, placing a gloved hand on the cold stone. Beyond lies your domain, your tenants in their cottages, fields resting for the night, the quiet hills where bandits sometimes roam. Tonight, there is no threat, but if danger ever came, this wall would stand between them and harm, and you would be the first to meet it. This peace, fragile and hard-won, is not something you take for granted. You continue walking, your mind wandering through the events of the day. Training in the yard, petitions heard and answered, the hunt, the feast. The responsibilities of knighthood are not just in battle, but in balance, strength and grace, law and mercy, vigilance and stillness. You think of your squire, of how he watched your movements so closely at supper. You remember when you were young, doing the same, studying your own knight's every word, every gesture. Now, the role is yours, the example is yours to set. There is no audience now, no hall to impress, no petition to judge, just the sound of wind in the trees, the distant hoot of an owl, and your own breath in the cool night air. In these moments, you feel the full weight of your title, not as burden, but as purpose. A knight must be more than a sword. He must be the guardian of quiet hours, the keeper of peace, the promise of justice, even when no one is watching. You make one final turn, the manor coming back into view, windows glowing soft and golden. Your hound waits near the door, tail thumping gently as you return. The night deepens, and your steps slow, leading you toward the close of day. The heavy oak door creaks quietly as you enter your private chamber. The stone walls hold the memory of the day's cool air, but the hearth in the corner glows softly, casting long, flickering shadows across the room. A single log crackles as it burns. The scent of wood smoke and warm wool fills the space. Your squire is here, already attending to his final duties. He has laid out your nightclothes near the fire,
folded your garments, and placed a small cup of warm spiced wine on the table beside your bed. Your armor, cleaned and inspected, rests on a wooden stand near the wall. Your sword, polished and sharp, lies sheathed upon a chest, close but at peace. He waits silently for instruction, and you nod once to signal his dismissal. "Well done," you say quietly. He bows, says nothing, and steps into the corridor. A good squire is one who listens more than he speaks. You begin to unwind, first by the fire where you remove your boots and outer garments slowly. The ache in your shoulders reminds you of the lance strikes from earlier in the training yard. You stretch slightly, then ease into a sturdy chair pulled near the flames. A fur cloak lies draped across your shoulders. The warmth settles into your bones. This chamber is yours alone. No courtiers, no council, no guards. Only stillness and the crackle of fire. You take the cup of wine, sweetened with cinnamon and clove, and sip slowly. It's not about the drink. It's the ritual, the winding down, the small signs to your body that the work of the day is finished. On the small wooden table nearby rests a book, hand-copied by monks, its pages illuminated with intricate designs. You open it gently, turning to a familiar passage. The words are in Latin, though you know their meaning well. You read a few lines quietly, reverently. It is not study, but something deeper. The discipline of the mind must match the discipline of the sword. Occasionally your gaze drifts toward the window. The moon has risen higher. Its pale light filters through the shuttered opening, silvering the stone floor. The sounds outside have all but faded. Even the hounds have curled into sleep near the hall. You think, briefly, of the people in your care, of the squire who looks up to you, of the land that grows quietly in the dark, waiting for morning. Your responsibilities do not weigh you down tonight. They steady you, because you understand what many do not. Knighthood is not a life of luxury or glory, but of order, of balance, of serving something greater than oneself, day after day, night after night. You close the book, finish your wine and rise. It is time for sleep. Before you lay down to rest, there is one final act left in your day. Prayer. Not for show, not out of fear, but from the quiet space inside you where memory and faith intertwine. You move toward the small wooden prayer bench beside your bed, its surface worn smooth from use. A single candle flickers nearby, its flame dancing gently in the stillness. You kneel. The floor is cool beneath your knees. Your hands fold without thought, your head bows. The words do not need to be spoken aloud. Some come in Latin, others in your native tongue. You pray for your family, for your men, for the people who till your fields and build your halls. You pray for those who've fallen in past battles and for the strength to protect the living if battle comes again. You ask not for glory, but for clarity, for sound judgment, for the ability to act with wisdom when the path is not clear. There are things no sword can solve. The silence stretches comfortably. Your thoughts begin to drift, first to the day just past and then further, to years behind you. The training yard when you were a boy, barely able to lift a shield. The first battle where your heart raced faster than your horse. The face of the knight who trained you, long buried now but still vivid in your mind. He taught you that courage was quiet, that a true knight speaks softly but stands firm, that honor is not claimed in one moment, but proven across a lifetime. These memories arrive like guests and leave without force. You allow them to come and go as they please. Some bring pride, some sorrow, but all belong to you. You rise slowly from your prayer bench, the candlelight soft on your face. You feel the weight of the day, not as burden, but as completion. Everything has found its place. Your sword remains sheathed, your hands are steady, your soul is at rest. Outside your chamber, the manor is utterly still. No more footsteps in the corridors, no sounds from the courtyard. Even the wind seems to have quieted, as if the world too is preparing to sleep. You extinguish the candle with a pinch of your fingers, plunging the room into darkness, save for the low glow of embers in the hearth. The day is done, and soon you will be too, drifting gently into the peace you have earned. The chamber is quiet now, save for the faint hiss of dying embers. The fire is burned low, casting the walls in a soft orange hush. Shadows no longer flicker, they rest. The warmth lingers just enough to keep the chill at bay. You cross the room with slow, steady steps, the day's final weight easing from your shoulders. You lie down on the bed layered in wool and furs, the straw mattress familiar beneath you. The linen is coarse, the pillow stuffed with feathers. Not soft by any noble measure, but honest, dependable, like everything else in a night's life. Your hound curls at the foot of the bed, tail tucked, breathing deep. He has watched over you in the woods, at your feet in council, beside you in battle, and now in rest. A silent companion through every hour. Your eyes adjust to the dim. Moonlight spills in faintly from the shutter's crack, painting the floor in narrow silver bands. You hear nothing but your own breathing, slow and steady, and the occasional sigh of the wind outside. The sounds of the manor, bells, footsteps, steel have all fallen away. This is the time when a knight allows his thoughts to settle. There is no armor to wear here, no audience to impress, just you and the rhythm of a body grown tired through labor and loyalty. You think, perhaps, of what tomorrow may bring. The harvest draws near. There may be a summons from your liege lord, a message from the priory, or simply more training, more petitions, more quiet choices that shape the lives around you. No 2 days are the same, but everyone carries the same purpose: to guard, to guide, to endure. You stretch, then settle, one arm across your chest, the other resting loosely at your side. Your heartbeat slows, each breath draws longer, softer. And slowly, almost without noticing, you begin to drift. There is no fear, no regret. You've met your day with strength and order. You have fed your people, trained your squires, judged with fairness and led by example. You have honored the code, not just with sword and shield, but with quiet integrity. Sleep comes not as surrender, but as a deserved gift. A knight, after all, must be ready not only for battle, but for peace. The world fades, and you welcome the dark with calm, unwavering breath. Sleep has taken you gently, like a cloak drawn over the shoulders. The fire has gone out completely now, leaving only the lingering warmth it gave to the stone walls. Outside, the wind moves softly through the trees, the same woods you rode through earlier, now hushed beneath the weight of night. In your rest, there are no loud dreams, only the echoes of the life you live. You do not dream of dragons or legends spun from bardic tales. Instead, your dreams feel like memories, softened by time and touched with stillness. You walk familiar paths, the castle courtyard at dawn, the quiet stables where your warhorse nuzzles hay, the chapel where candlelight flickers against polished wood. These moments return to you not with urgency, but with comfort. In sleep your body mends, the ache in your shoulders eases, the calluses on your hands find rest. A knight does not often speak of weariness, but it lives in every joint, every scar. Sleep, rare and uninterrupted, is the healer no apothecary can match. Somewhere deep in the manor, a guard walks the night watch. Somewhere in the village, a child stirs in a cradle. The world turns slowly on its axis, and still you rest, wrapped in wool, shielded by stone, sheltered by the oath that shapes your days and secures your nights. The code you live by does not end at dusk. Even in these quiet hours, it hums like a distant bell. Honor, duty, vigilance, mercy. These are not just words you speak, they are the rhythm beneath your breath, the silent vow that continues even while you sleep. The stars shift above your roof, unseen but eternal. The moon begins its descent toward the horizon. The night grows old, and soon the eastern sky will blush with the first suggestion of light. But for now, you remain still. There is no threat at your door, no voice calling your name, no armor to lift or sword to ready. Only the deep and steady pulse of rest, the final reward of a day lived fully, with strength and with grace. You will rise again. The cock will crow, the manor will stir, and a new day will begin, with its duties and challenges. But until then, you remain as you are, a knight at peace, asleep beneath the quiet stars.